Manchester United under Ruben Amorim, it has been far from perfect, and today, Man U at Old Trafford suffered a 3-1 loss against Brighton, which is their 6th home Premier League loss of the season, the most in the opening 12 games at home in a Premier League season since 1893-94. That is a very, very long time ago. Here's what Amorim had to say after the match.
10 games in Premier League, we won 2. I know that. Imagine what is this for a fan of Manchester United. Imagine what is this for me. So we are getting a new coach that is losing more than the last coach. I have full knowledge of that. Like I said, I'm not going to change, no matter what. And I know we can succeed, but we need to survive this moment because I'm not naive. And I know that we need to survive now. So we are being the worst team, maybe, in history of Manchester United. I know that you want headlines, but I'm saying that because we have to acknowledge that and to change that. So here you go, your headlines.
Amorim's right. That is certainly a headline. No words minced there. Nige, would you agree? Is this the worst Manchester United side in history?
It's hard to disagree. I mean, the results don't lie. The performances don't lie. We saw them get away with it with Southampton, where Southampton were the better side, and they come back to win that game. But today, Brighton were the better side, and Brighton deserved to win. It was a poor performance. It was a reality check for real Manchester United fans to understand where their club is. But for me, it feels like since Ruben Amorim's come in, he's been given so much leeway, and he knows he's been given leeway. And now it's like, oh, we have to survive, and I know that. I'm not naive. Well, it seems like you're showing you're naive because you keep being stuck to the system, the style of play. This is Manchester United. It's about winning. Work with what you've got. The best managers in world football that we admire find a way to get the job done. They work with what they've got and get results. So if you're not naive, forget your style of play, forget your principles, and get results with the players that you have there. Find them way to get them on side.
Amorim said in that clip, he's not changing.
I don't think that Nigel's saying, like, forget your principles and what you want to do and what you want to accomplish, but I think he's saying you have to put a premium on results, right? When he first came in, that's not what he said. What he said now is not what he said when he first came in. When he first came in, he said, oh, it's going to take time. Yeah. We need to play our system. We don't have the right players. Trust me, we're going to get worse before we get better. This was a much different Amorim. This is one that looks different, sounds different, is giving a different message, saying I'm not naive, saying we need to win football matches. When you come to Man United, you need to win football matches. It doesn't matter. People don't care how you win it. I've been saying this since day one, and I got a lot of heat from Manchester United fans coming to me and saying, oh, well, he hasn't had time. Well, you'll see his system's going to work. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you have to compete. I've realized playing football that the most, and I've worked with great tacticians as coaches and guys that really understand the game of football, you have to compete first. Number one, you have to compete on a physical level, on a mental level, on a spiritual level. You have to compete first. It's about competing. Then it's about tactics and about systems and about all different other things. But first it's competition and working hard.
I think also what he's saying there is putting a line in the sand to see which players respond positively to what he said and which ones respond negatively. Because we've seen many coaches go down this route of really saying something big, because in that locker room, it could divide a lot of opinions. Yeah. There's going to be ones that say, yeah, I'm with him. And there's going to be ones that are going to be against him because he's throwing them under the bus. Which are going to be the ones that actually respond and give you the reaction that you need to play for Manchester United? Because we could say that he's not wrong, but at the same time, it's the players that he has to work with until the rest of the season.
It's a big risk. And then just to add to something that we all know, Conte, same thing when he first took over Napoli this season, what he said, that we were all shocked.
When they lost to Verona 3-0.
When they lost to Verona, what Conte said then. And you look at them now, they're top of Serie A. But that's Conte, who's a winning manager, who's got experience of being at big clubs, won Premier League titles at Chelsea, won at Inter. So that's an experienced manager. For me now, I would say, I think Amorim's starting to get a real reality of what it means to be Manchester United. It's all great saying, oh, I know what the club is and this and that, but we always used to say, people have no idea what this club is like and the animal that comes with it being the Manchester United manager. And for me now, I start to see a real realisation of his situation. I see the pressure building, and to come out and say that, for me, I think it's a big risk in that dressing room with the players that you got. Hopefully, he gave them a different message. behind closed doors, and he's coming out here to give us a
Players
message
see
where
that.
it doesn't
Players
work,
see
but
it, though. Grella, Nige, I'm curious how both of you would respond as players if your manager goes out and says what Amorim said today.
I'm a realist. I'm about the reality of it. I take responsibility for myself. I can only speak for my generation. We had a lot more pride in our performances and what it was to go out there and play. And I think for me, my biggest thing when I look at Manchester United, and I say this all the time because they're a club that was built on winning. When we played against the great Manchester United side, I'm talking about the Giggs, the Scholes, the Rooneys, all these top players that were Manchester United, we used to go there and we used to compete. And all it was for them was winning. I remember in games where we've played against Manchester United and we've been the better side. We were the better side. But guess what? They found a way to win in the 90th minute where they used to make it famous called Fergie time. And all people used to talk about is Manchester United won. It wasn't that Manchester United were outclassed for 60, 70 minutes and then they come and fortunate to win it. No, it's Manchester United won. Football was about winning. The culture that was created there was about winning. And now for me, it's gone away from that. And now, like Grella said, they're not even competing.
But Grella, your manager says that. You're a player. What's your response?
I mean, I think if he's taking responsibility, then that's fine. You also have to look at yourself in the mirror after every single performance, after every single game, after every single training session, and say, is this true or not? And I think he's got a valid statement in saying that the team is struggling, but. Let's not be taken wrong here and say that Amorim is the problem. That's not the truth. It's the whole entire club. It's the prism of the ownership and the manager and the players that they bought, the sporting directors, the guys, the scouting team that have brought in players that maybe don't fit exactly what even the previous managers want or don't fit the DNA of United. And I think it's a club now that their history has actually hurt them now.
Brighton convincingly went to Old Trafford today. Old Trafford is slowly losing that aura of greatness now where there's no team that goes to Old Trafford having any kind of fear whatsoever. Brighton completely dominated and deserved to win today. And let's just say Manchester United are very fortunate in certain incidents because Brighton did take a 2-1 lead through, I can't remember who scored the goal, but it was taken back through a decision about Diallo being kicked in the box when for me, that was never a decision that should have been given. And it really frustrates me because I feel now that so many players are playing into the whole VAR system, knowing there's so many cameras around the place. And for me, it was a flop by Diallo. I think he knew it. And Brighton went on to win the game 3-1, very convincing. Again, it's another poor performance for Manchester United, and we can hear the same thing. It's a roller coaster. It's going to be a long journey, and I think fans have to get a reality check in to understand how long a journey it is.
You called it spot on, by the way. You predicted. You said Brighton would win on Morning Footy when we did our predictions.
Yeah.
You knew that this.
We spoke about it. We could see it coming, and again, it's very similar to the same performance against Southampton, where Southampton went there and dominated, but Southampton shot themselves in the foot, where they wanted to overplay football. There's moments where you have to realise where you are, where the game is, what the scoreline is, what the situation is, and change certain factors.
So for Manchester United, who does that blame fall on? Is that blame on Ruben Amorim or is that blame on the players?
I mean, you can't really blame Ruben Amorim. He's still sticking to his principles, but I think the other coaches are finding a way to make his formation, his style of play, as Grella likes to say, become very vulnerable. The way that Brighton played, it's very easy because the players he has there are not good enough to play the system that he wants to play. But I'll give it, Grella said it, and he's right. There's an element where it's formation, it's style of play. But if you don't have players competing and wanting to fight and just do the basic of football, which is competing, you're not going to win any football game at any level. Forget the system, forget the manager in charge. If you just don't do the basic, it's not going to happen. And funny enough, at the end of the Manchester United game, there was a little bit of a scuffle between Man United players and Brighton players. And I'm sitting watching there and I'm thinking, you had 90 minutes to fight during the game. And now the game's done and you lost 3-1. Now you want to fight and get a little bit more physical.
This is my issue with the whole situation, right? Amorim, right? Even Poppy goes, oh, he's so handsome. He comes in, he's handsome, right?
What's that got to do with it?
He's talking to the media. He's saying that it's going to be long. He's saying about
Poppy,
his system.
I'll defend you, don't worry.
He's saying it's about his system. He's saying he needs time. I understand all these things. I understand you need time. I understand they're not his players. I understand you're at Manchester United. You have to win football games.
That's it.
That's it.
100%.
Nobody knows. He makes a great point. We're talking the agreement. Nobody knows what Real Madrid's style is. Nobody knows. But every year at the end of the season, 50% chance they have the Champions League trophy and they're jumping on the stage like this.
Yeah.
And nobody will talk about, oh, well, they played really well. They get dominated by Manchester City in those series, and they win the game, and nobody talks about how they play. So at the end of the day, you're at Man United. You have to find ways to win games. No one else cares. And if I'm him with Diallo at the moment, I give Diallo half of my paycheck at the end of the week because he won the game against Man City for them. He won the game against Southampton for them, and it was individual efforts. I see Man United fans going, "Oh, I see the system working." You're nuts.
Yeah,
you're nuts. You're seeing things.
He's the youngest player there. He's the youngest player that's actually been the brightest spark for Manchester United. Where are these senior players? They're supposed to take that responsibility. Senior international players playing for big nations as well, with a bag of experience. They're the ones that are supposed to be stepping to the front of the plate. Diallo is the one through the academy who's the one that's actually taken that burden. And for my point with Grella is I agree with him because for me, these historic clubs are historic because of winning culture, winning mentality. And now it seems like Manchester United are going from winning to now just all types of excuses and looking for different places and different things that just don't exist to me.
I think the scariest part is that it's become a pattern. When they have to play against these teams where they have to have the ball and they have to play expansive football, they seem to struggle. When they play against the Manchester City, the Arsenal, the Liverpool, where they could tuck in and be a little bit more conservative, that's where they've gotten their best results. So every time you're seeing the teams come up on them, you're saying they're going to struggle more in the smaller games, quote unquote, than in the games that they shouldn't. And I think that's a big problem that they have. Again, overlooked the game against Southampton. For 60 minutes, maybe 60 plus minutes, they were the ones that were dominating the play. Teams are not scared to go there. They get fortunate or not fortunate, but the talent of Diallo saves them, and it overlooks some of the problems that they have within the squad.
That's also a worry for Manchester United, by the way, because they are closer right now to the relegation zone than they are with the teams in the top four.
Let me say this, 5 wins in 12 games at Old Trafford. This is Old Trafford, historically Old Trafford. I remember years ago, people would say, when you go to Old Trafford, I remember I played in teams where players would look at the Man United fixture and say, we lost. Wow. And in my mind, I'm like, wait, we lost. Because they were so scared and intimidated to go and play at Old Trafford. I would love to know what the modern teams are thinking now when they go to Old Trafford.
What would you be thinking?
They're licking their lips.
Points.
Speaking of reality checks, Tottenham, woof. A big loss today, and right now they're one of those teams similar to Man United, closer to the relegation zone than they are competing for top 4, top 6 European football. Everton with that win today, sitting on 20 points. And this is the first time that they led by 3 or more goals at home at halftime since February 2017. Tottenham, they try to complete the comeback. Nige, what happened in that game in the second half?
Too late. It was too late. First half, Everton did what they had to do. They absolutely bullied Tottenham. There's no way to break down that game, but Everton bullied Tottenham. It was a real physical. Again, it was just being competitive, competing. Tottenham did try to give a go again. Dragusin was taken off at half-time. They bring on Richarlison. And again, we talk about leadership, the importance of leaders and characters. There's 2 things that will never go away from the game of football. You can have the foundation all you want, but 2 things that make the game we love so much special is characters and leaders. And that is what Tottenham is lacking in their team. Son had a great opportunity in the first half that I said we talked about his confidence being a problem, why he's not performing. And it just was like a laboured attempt. And you could see he's lacking in confidence. Kulusevski's been one of the only bright spots for Tottenham, came on and scored a beautiful goal. But the reality of that game was Everton absolutely bullied Tottenham. They left it a little too late. And again, I saw the Spurs players clapping the Spurs fans at the end. And Pep Porro was speaking to the fans about stick together, stick together. And for me, it's kind of given me a moment of they're starting to feel sorry for themselves. Like, don't start to feel sorry for yourself. This is what you dream of. This is what comes as being a professional football player. This is the best job in the world, in my opinion. Go out there and perform. Don't feel sorry for yourselves. You're a club that's a big club, and right about now, you guys are not playing well. You can't blame that on Ange all the time. He does play his part in his team selection, but go out there and compete. And today, they were absolutely bullied by Everton, and Everton made it tough for themselves as well.
I don't know if you're Tottenham and if you're Big Ange, where do you go from here? If I'm in the ownership group and I'm watching Tottenham play, I'm watching my team play, and they're constantly making the same mistakes. They're constantly conceding goals. They're constantly playing with a back line. They're not winning football games. They're not smart. They're not clever. Hear my manager talking about he's making up rules as he goes along. I've never heard some of the stuff he's saying, but where do you go? The football's not going to get any better. No team in the history of the game has ever won playing the type of football he's winning. I understand it's entertaining, but at the end of the day, you play. It's a results-oriented business, and it's a business. You have to win football matches.
I love you fact that you say it's entertaining because it wasn't entertaining today. I don't think the entertainment factor has been there in their performances recently. So now you're not entertaining. The results are not going well. In a little defence to Ange, injuries haven't helped him. He's got some serious
Everyone's got injuries.
But you're not going to go to Goodison Park and put in that performance and lose like that and then rely on, we've got... No. That's not good enough. I think for me, like you said, up top above Ange now, they will have to start thinking, where do we go? What is the decision that we're going to make?
But you're in the changing room, right? You're in the changing room. You're playing for Big Ange, right? And you already know, before the game even happens, you already know what the game's going to look like.
That's what's sad about it.
You already know what the game's going to look like. But how can you buy in as a player? You know you're going to lose. You know you have to score 5 goals to win a match of football.
And we talked about Everton. The story of Everton was that they struggle to score goals. Yeah. They have to rely on not conceding goals. And then you concede 3 goals to Everton. And I get that Moisey returns to the club, and it's his first win back, and there's a lot of emotions there. But the reality is that can't be acceptable. You look at their last 10 games. They have 1 win in their last 10 Premier League games. And guess who that win was against? Southampton. So you have to look at that and say, this is not good enough. And I get the injuries. You're absolutely right. Yeah. That does affect the team. But at a certain point, you have to find a different solution in this moment to get results.
I'll just say this as well. And we always say about messaging is so important with managers. And you can always tell the smart managers from the ones that are a bit naive and put themselves. Ange says about he wants to be entertaining. You're going to miss me when I'm gone. Fine. What that filters down to is the dressing room. The intelligent players in your dressing room will be like, all right, we're going to play this way. If we lose, it doesn't matter because we're entertaining. That's what a player will be saying, and they'll be looking at it. Well, you want to be
entertaining? Letting the second lowest scoring team in the Premier League get 3 goals past you.
Ali, the major issue for me is that it's fine. You want to play your brand of football, it's fine, but you're trying to reinvent the wheel. We know the best teams in the history. They say defense wins championships. Organized teams. You have to be organized. You have to play in different moments in different phases of football, right? He only wants to play one way. That's like me when I came here to TV. I said, no, I'm going to do TV my own style. Oh, I have the camera. They set me up the way I have to say, what I have to say, what I have to do. And I have to be good within this infrastructure. Not the other way where you just come and you start making up your own rules, your own system of play. Oh, but it's entertaining.